It was before Passover, and Jesus knew that the time had come for him to leave this world and to return to his Father. He had always loved his followers in this world, and he loved them to the very end. Even before the evening meal started, the devil had made Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, decide to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that he'd come from God and that he would go back to God. He also knew that the Father had given him complete power. So during the meal, Jesus got up, removed his outer garments and wrapped a towel around his waist. He put some water into a large bowl, and then he began washing his disciples' feet and drying them with the towel he was wearing. But when he came to Simon Peter, that disciple said, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" And Jesus answered, "You don't really know what I am doing, but later you will understand." "You will never wash my feet," Peter replied. "If I don't wash you," Jesus told him, "you don't really belong to me." And then Peter said, "Lord, don't just wash my feet, wash my hands and my head." Jesus answered, "People who have bathed and are clean all over need to just wash their feet. And you, my disciples, are clean, except for one of you." Jesus knew who would betray him. That is why he said, "except for one of you." After Jesus had washed his disciples' feet and had put his outer garments back on, he sat down again. And then he said to them, "Do you understand what I've done? You call me your teacher and Lord, and you should, because that is who I am. And if your Lord and teacher has washed your feet, you should do the same for each other."
Hello. When the musical Jesus Christ Superstar appeared in the 70s, some Christians were offended by that word, superstar. It was a word to be used about pop singers, movie stars, footballers, not the Son of God. True, like a pop star, Jesus had his own entourage, and wherever he went he attracted huge crowds. But that's where the comparison ends. Superstars need to demonstrate their status by showing off their wealth. But Jesus had very few possessions and no home of his own. He relied on the hospitality of others as he travelled around. Superstars maintain their status by going to the right places, being seen with the right people, and getting others to carry out menial tasks for them. Jesus, however, frequented the houses of ordinary people and mixed with those considered the lowest of the low. And here we see him washing the feet of his disciples, a task of a servant, not a person of importance. So was Jesus unaware of his status? Not at all. In verse 13 he says, "You call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am." By washing his disciples' feet, Jesus wasn't denying his standing. Indeed, John indicates that he was able to take on such a lowly task precisely because he was aware of it. Verse 3, Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. He didn't need to make a show of his status for himself or for anyone else. And of course, this confidence in his relationship with the Father and a burning desire to serve led him to a far greater act of humility and love shortly after this episode, when he submitted himself to the cross to die like a criminal, the ultimate act of humility and service. By washing their feet, Jesus was teaching his disciples that it's attitude, not status, that's important. Luke tells us that at this very meal the disciples had been arguing about which of them was the greatest. So it was clearly a lesson that they needed to learn. And it's a lesson that we need to learn too. Like Jesus, we too can be confident of our standing. As Christians, we are children of the living God. But we demonstrate that status not by flaunting our worldly wealth and being selective about who we mix with, but by humbling ourselves and serving others, regardless of their standing in the world, just as Jesus did. Graham Kendrick explored the apparent contradiction between the status and attitude of Jesus in that wonderful song, The Servant King. The last verse goes like this: "So let us learn how to serve, and in our lives enthrone him, each other's needs to prefer, for it is Christ we're serving." Amen.